Gun rush, ATC rush, 320 rush. It's crazy.
We're rushing everything. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Answer the Call. Are they rushing Star Citizen 320? Is Answer the Call rushed today? Yes, everything's rushed. I have a hockey game. We started Answer the Call an hour earlier today. So if you're watching on YouTube, obviously that isn't really relevant to you. But Answer the Call is still a call-in show, right? Last week was fantastic. Not only did we have a ton of callers, really long show, the viewership on the show was much higher than it has been in a while. I think you guys are enjoying it. Leave a comment below. Let us know in Twitch chat live if you guys have been enjoying the new version of the show with Croncy. I assume you have, based on all of the metrics seem to be up, so which is cool. But a lot of shit happened this week, Croncy. A lot.
Yeah. It was a busy week for Star Citizen drama content. That's for sure.
No, just period. My weekend review script for tomorrow is 6 pages long, where it's normally like 3.
Yeah.
We had 5 patches this week, one for each day of the week. We had a postmortem. We had a monthly report. We had
a huge ISC.
A huge ISC, a pretty good SCL. We had Morph jumping ship to Star Atlas. This has been the most crazy week of all time. So I don't know. I don't know what you would want to start with first. What was the highlight of the week for you?
Probably the ISC. So, I mean, we were talking about cargo and the economy last week's ATC, and
what about it?
We were kind of on it, right? So, now we get to see the exploratory stages of what the sort of like end game cargo may look like. I was honestly expecting, the way that they've been talking about it for the last couple of months, because it's still sort of newish, other than freight elevators, which they've been talking about forever. I was expecting we probably wouldn't see anything till CitizenCon or hear anything till CitizenCon. So
on this subject?
Yeah, on this subject.
This would have been a hold-off subject for me if I was them, right? It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about this, though. This is a very interesting thing. I consider it very much like the Banu Merchantman. So they did a Star Citizen Live on this subject 2 years ago, almost to the day.
Yeah.
2 years ago. But Chad McKinney is the only repeat person that is talking about it. There were 2 other devs on the show that no longer are on this team and possibly no longer work at the company. So this might be a very Banu Merchantman situation where these people were slated to do this work, and then those people no longer work there. And now 2 years later, work that we would have expected to be done, which, cargo refactor has been talked about for a very long time, is not happening. And now we're just in the exploratory stages of a video that they shared 2 years ago. I mean, almost to a T, Croncy. This was exactly what they said. So it was very, very similar. But for me, it was the end of the show of where they were like, next week, we're telling you the new stuff. Like, I think it's been 2 years. We're telling you where we're at. I think they're actively doing that work now instead of just talking about it like they did 2 years ago. So that's definitely a difference. But next week, they talked about, oh my God, it was called Inventory Bank is something. Never heard of it. So interested about that. They're going to, I think, talk a lot more about the freight elevators and the kiosk changes and things. So it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that are changing, but I don't know. The only surprise from the show wasn't so much of a surprise for people in Evo, but it was that everything will attach to a cargo grid. And they showed everything attaching to a cargo grid, including a ship, which is actually something that they talked about 5, 6, 10 years, like forever ago. I think when the Arena Commander racing mode originally came out, people were like, I want to put my racing ships on my whole E. And they were like, you'll be able to do that. And maybe 5 years ago, I'd be like, that's bullshit. But now it's like, okay, well, no, it's not. It actually is a thing that could be happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the main reason that they've put a lot of focus on, that it's not just cargo that you're going to be putting on these cargo grids, is probably just that, hey, we tried this thing and it's working, so now we can go a little bit harder on it. They did a similar thing, right, when we first got the very the very small crafting that we can do in the Reclaimer and the Vulture. I don't know if it was the next ISC or the one following, but like they actually talked a little bit about how like, hey, that's really cool, and so that actually is making us think about crafting in the long term.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fantastic. The thing though about like, yeah, next week they're going to be showing us the new stuff. As always with game dev and also Star Citizen specifically is, well, we may be disappointed next week when we get into next week's ATC and talking about, well, so they didn't tell us anything new. So I'm cautious about that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just in general, even though it's got new names. So it like, yeah, I'm always cautiously optimistic or whatever about some things, but I'm just interested to just generally hear what it sounds like they're getting into the design of the cargo system rather than the development of, like, this past week development, next week I expect more of a vehicle munching type ISC rather than that was more of like a calling all devs almost, it felt like, right? In a way. It was like, or just, I don't know. It just felt, it didn't feel like they were going into any design documents and sharing any information that isn't super old. So this week was like, it was good, but it just didn't hit that hard for me because I was like, all right, I know all this stuff already, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily anything crazy new, but it was sort of like a rehashing of stuff that, I mean, it's important to rehash. I think one thing, anytime we do talk about like any of these ISCs or SCLs or whatever, is it's always important to remember there was a lot of players who weren't playing 2 years ago when they first were talking about it, right? So it is important to have that back, especially if they are, well, we know that they're at least planning to work on this stuff in the future.
That's why I believe it's a two-parter. Yeah. Because it was like, all right, let's catch up the old folks and then let's get into the new stuff. Like, they didn't have to do that with Salvage because
it was all new anyway.
Yeah, it was all new anyway. Exactly. So I think that was probably a good move. Again, it wasn't like, a huge deal for the old folks that have been around, but it still was good. I get bothered by the capture team stuff sometimes. This one wasn't so bad, but
I love it. I love it because I think it's such a... Because I love all of the videos they make. I know that, it's there to try to sell me whatever ship has come out. But it's still just cool videos to watch. So I just love when they have time during like ISCs and stuff just to be a bit silly. I do think the hot dog Halle was a bit much.
See, those I actually don't even care about. Those are just whatever. And nothing, I will say nothing about that, about this ISC really bothered me, but they said that they weren't going to do it. And then they did so much of it. So I was really looking forward for it not to be there. And then I was really looking forward to a munching video. That's what I was looking forward to. So that's really what I hope we get next week. And that's why maybe I'm keep mentioning it I really hope we get a munching video. I thought that was the best ISC of the year because it was it was clear. It was to the point. They show us the stage that we're at. We got to, see how the problems that they're coming across and going, okay, so this is going to take some time. This is where they're at right now. And it like allowed me to just be patient about the system and fully understand it. It's I just way preferred that. And then sometimes when you see the vehicle capture stuff and you're like, all right, they have a hangar and they put a bunch of stuff in it, and then you get excited to want that thing. It's like, damn, but this is so far away. And the thing about that episode in particular is that they were talking to us in the steps that they're going to take. The first step might not result in anything that you saw on the screen,
I do think in terms of what they'll show next week, I don't think it'll be as like I don't think they'll show anything really like the whole munching. I think what we can probably more expect is maybe an explanation of, so here's an example of how you'll use these features, and they'll literally probably just go like, here's a point A, point B, point C, point D, whatever, interacting with them. Because the way that they were talking about it in this ISC, the way they've talked about it in monthly reports, all that sort of stuff, is it doesn't sound like they even have that hull munching footage available necessarily.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to go over you so you can see my my camera. I forgot to do that for you. But yeah, so I agree, and I hope we get to that whole munching video next week, and that's all. And it sounds like we're going to, so that really renewed my excitement. I mean, what to you, to me, cargo is the heart of the game.
Yeah.
You may do it, you may not do it, but it will drive the game. It's what determines what is at a location that you buy things at. What determines what you'll sell things, what things you'll sell at certain locations, and it's what determines, I guess, where piracy is and where PvP is, and resources that you're fighting over. It is the most important piece of the puzzle outside of ship flight and your character, right? I think it's number 3 on the list for me. So getting this really good it's really important to me, and I'm sure it is to you, knowing everything that you like about the game.
Yeah, it's a super integral part of what makes MMOs when you do have the ability for players to have an actual impact on the economy, whatever that is. Like, for example, you don't have a super impact to the economy with like World of Warcraft, just the auction house. Like, no one's transporting legendary weapons across the surface of the planet or anything in that game, but because that is a thing that they want to do in Star Citizen and every other game that's had things like that, it makes the game feel alive. It gives the ability to have hubs of player activity, which is always fantastic. It introduces risk. It's the perfect mechanic for all that sort of stuff. So this is all the beginning of that. We still have the big question mark of, like, specifically though, how is economy going to work? And in this week's monthly report, we did find out that, you know, the economy team has started working. So
there's an economy team. Woo!
Yeah. Economy team popping off. Hopefully we get to hear from them soon. Yeah,
their monthly report section was this big, and that's okay. Yeah. They just started, but we need to get to this big, and then this big, and then this big, and then we'll be okay. But for now, it was just excited to see that they exist in a capacity where they're ready to start speaking, and their focus was on cargo. So again, I think that they definitely understand the value of it, or they share the importance that I think both of us have with it. So it's pretty big deal. And I just can't wait. This is one of those things that they always fish me back in. Is they do these little things where I'm like, ooh, something might happen. Very exciting.
And right around CitizenCon, which is crazy.
Why would they do that? That's so weird. Why would they do something like that? But that's the thing about this ISE is I'm super surprised that they're not doing anything around cargo at CitizenCon. It makes me.
They might.
They might.
It is just interesting that they told us this stuff now.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been a really big talk that they could have done, and there still might be a thing. It just won't necessarily have as much impact.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. They're not going to have the mission devs aren't going out, so like I don't even know what CitizenCon is going to be. Yeah, Elliot was like, "No, we're not going," and I was like, "Oh, why?" If you look at the monthly report, their section is this long, and it's like they're doing all these things. Why wouldn't we? Why aren't they at CitizenCon? So it's interesting. What's their focus? Is it more? Is it another Road to 4.0 CitizenCon? Probably, and then maybe their stuff is a little before that. Yeah, some people in chat are like too far in LA, bro. They're spending money like hand over fist, please.
I do wonder, could it be necessarily that like the mission team are doing a lot of work right now, right? They've been doing a ton of stuff over the course of the last year, right? Tons of new missions and stuff. Maybe it's just the case that like, too much to ship them over when they're probably also working like right now on 321 or something.
Exactly. It feels like all their work is maybe more short term, and why, whatever the theme of the show is, it maybe just doesn't fit. But dude, there's so many things to cover. Like where do we go next? I guess Star Citizen Live is something that, did you catch the whole thing?
I don't watch SCLs for the most part.
They're long.
I have a gripe with they are so long. I have a massive gripe with them. So anytime there's like actual dense information in SCLs, I almost always miss it, which is a little disappointing.
This wasn't good. This wasn't like that. This wasn't a great SEL. There, I pulled out 3 little tidbits. The only tidbit that I think is really worth talking about, well, there's 2. The very beginning, they go, we've done our work in Squadron, and we are moving to the PU again. And I was like, that's interesting. And is like, is this a reaction to the lack of ship sales? Is this is this a reaction thing to what's been going on? Or is this,
or is it true?
Yeah. Or is it even true?
Yeah.
Or are they just, is it, I'm trying to think back to, again, this was an SEL, so you might have missed it, but there was the Montreal Planet team or the Montreal team that
I believe watching that one. Yeah.
Where they said, we're not working on Pyro right now. Remember that? Where it was like, oh, that's all they were doing for a while. So it was like maybe they're bouncing around, and right now they're with the PU and not at Squadron. So that one was interesting. And then the second one was that I thought was interesting was around the QEDs and how that's going to work with master modes. So you have to be in SCM mode to use it. So you have to be going slow to use it. So that makes the QED pilot at risk. So that's good. So they're not going to be able to fly at super high speeds and use it. Good. If you are flying at super high speeds, it'll turn off your quantum drive. And your quantum drive is what powers QCM mode, obviously. But it may not be that obvious to people because that's not how it works right now, right? So in the future, you'll go into QCM mode, and that's what allows you to hit the speeds that we're used to flying now. That will turn that off, and that means you will be flying SCM speeds, but you'll still be in QCM mode, meaning you don't have shields, you don't have weapons, so you have to switch back to SCM mode in order to defend yourself. So you're going to have to remember to do that. But the thing that I am fixated on, and I do this all the time, and this is really stupid, but it might be worth fixating on, he said, you will be stuck at those speeds for that period of time. Or I don't have the exact quote. I have it we can review it for tomorrow. I can't remember it exactly. But he almost implied that it was like a more MOBA game, MMO type route mechanic instead of we have to stay within a certain distance of each other. And I was like, ooh, okay, so maybe you have to stay a certain distance in order to do the route, but the route lasts for a period of time. And I'm like, that is interesting. So just, that's just a thing to note and to keep an eye out of. Just that might happen, and that might be like a big change. But then, because he never mentioned distances, he just said for a period of time. And I don't know. I don't know what you think about that. I'm trying to think of like the way Star Citizen works now, and it's hard to foresee what it might feel like in the future.
Well, because I would assume they still want the ability for QEDs to just disrupt your drives. Like let's say you're in the situation where you haven't caught someone out of quantum, but you're just trying to keep someone there. I assume they still want that to be a thing, which with that wording wouldn't make sense.
No, it does.
Right? If it was a time-based thing, right, it would have to activate at a certain time, which presumably would be whenever you get maybe into a certain distance, or or maybe it becomes more of a like you can activate it every 5 seconds type thing or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
At which point, if a timer then starts, well, if you're still like right now, if you're still within that range, cool, you can't get out. Like it makes sense for dragging people out. It doesn't make necessarily a lot of sense for keeping people in, but I think that they could make it work with other things. Like honestly, I think it just should be a different module anyway. I think grabbing people out and keeping people in should be 2 different modules, like fully.
Oh, okay, like 2 totally different actual physical things. So why do you think it doesn't work? Because tackle and routes work in every other game.
No, because I'm saying if it is,
because you actually have to hit the target with something in order to route them?
No, it's more. So you're saying like they'll be tackled for a certain amount of time after something happens, whatever it is.
Yeah.
the assumption that I would then make is that regardless of distance, I can then get out after that time period, right?
No. So, okay. So based off of this one tiny statement, I think that there's a slim chance that you hit a button to tackle. You have to be within a certain distance to tackle everybody around you.
Yeah.
You do it. I press the button. Croncy, you are now tackled for 10 seconds. I have to maintain my distance to you in order to re-tackle you once you start flying again. But maybe the time is 15 seconds, 20 seconds before my QED is able to apply another tackle. So it gives you the opportunity to get out or something. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. It just said, I'm just fixated on, he said for a period of time. And now I'm like, well, what happened at distance? And maybe they felt that wasn't that good of a mechanic. It works in other games, though. It's you have your cooldown and you root a guy and then your teammates jump in, right? Like, and to be honest, that ship is always, like, we know some people like Xperia solo the ship and do fantastic things. But to me, that ship was always meant to be like a part of a group mechanic, right? It was part of a,
not
a
a lone
people.
hunter sort of thing.
Not necessarily. So it just kind of made sense. Is you tackle, they take the shields down, and then disable your ship.
Well, the shields would already be down. So that's the other part, the big part that you said, which sounds fantastic.
Only if they're in QCM mode would their shields be down.
Yeah. So so that means if I catch you, you will be in that mode, right? Because you'll be quantuming.
Yes.
So in that instance, I actually love that. Your shields will be down. You won't have access to your guns immediately. Once again, you can switch modes and start bringing those up.
Mm-hmm.
But it brings that nice advantage that we've got from master modes where it is, anytime you're switching between the two, regardless, there's a disadvantage. So I like that a lot. Snaring as a whole, I think, does need a bit of a rework anyway. So sounds like they're doing that. So awesome. Yeah, keen.
Yeah. I mean, I see Twitch saying some things like root's a bad word, or you can auto switch, you're being super speculative. Yeah, we're speculating. Like, what the hell? It was literally
welcome
one
to
word.
Star Citizen YouTube content.
Yeah, welcome to just Star Citizen content for the last 11 years. It's been all speculation, including their own. Like, what the hell? So, I don't know. But with tractor beams coming out, maybe we do something with that ship. That would be super cool. I would just love to see more with that, because anytime I've PvP'd, those are the roles that I like to play. Is I like to like dismount people, and then the actual good PvPers do all the work, right? Like I played in a pivotal role, but my role was more simple, and didn't require as much skill.
I'll freeze you, everyone else can do the damage. That's fine.
Exactly. That's always what I've preferred to do. Like even in New World, the guy with the axe who throws the bubble and roots everybody. I love doing that, man. That was my favorite thing. Or the frost storm and slow everyone down, and those were the mechanics that I enjoyed the most. So I'd love to see that be successful. We had 5 patches this week.
Yeah, they went hard on it this week. It's been a while since we've seen so many PTU patches come out so quickly. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the bulk of the changes in this patch have been Arena Commander, and it just feels like they've been able to enact those changes a lot faster than necessarily in the past, or any of the changes that they have been able to put in haven't broken the patch. You know what I mean? Because that feels like it was a lot of the issues previously, right? You'll have a 319 PTU where it's like, all right, we fixed everything, but now the server's 30k every 20 seconds, so we're not going to release the patch today.
It's weird, man. I'm seeing it's so hard to listen to what other people say in their experiences because they just vary so different from your own. I have had like no 30Ks, maybe the occasional crash or something, but my biggest issue is sound.
Yeah, you were mentioning. I saw in Discord. I have not had the same issue. I played for a couple of hours earlier, yeah.
Really? Okay. So, like, any long quantum travels did you do?
I have not been in the PU for 2 weeks. Like, even in PTU, I have not been in the
That'll do it. I think it's a PU.
Arena Commander.
I think it's fairly PU exclusive.
Right.
It was in Arena Commander early on with the F-55. It seemed very similar to the same issue was involved, and they just removed the F-55 instead of fixing the actual problem in Arena Commander. It feels like so. I don't know, man. I QT'd, and then I would hear the QT initial sound loop for my whole 10-minute QT, and then I get out of QT and fire my guns. No sound. 10 minutes later, I hear my gun shoot. Right? So it was like everything was super delayed and everything was being super weird. And I reached out and was like, hey, not on the known issues list. What's going on here? And I looked at the issue council report. It was marked as fixed. And I'm just like, oh, God damn it, dude. and the thing is, we can get into the title a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like they're rushing now, but obviously they've taken their time with this patch. They have ship sales. I counted, dude. They have so many ships to sell that they haven't sold. We got the Storm. We got the Fury LX. We got the Hull C. We got the SRV. We have the X1. You have the Santokyai and the Spirits. Yeah, that's 2. That's 8 ships in this little period of time that are all coming for sale. They're going to break the records from last year.
Oh, for sure. Well, if CitizenCon goes well, yes. No, genuinely, they will.
I don't think they will.
I reckon 100%. If we get big enough news at CitizenCon, if 320 launches okay enough, essentially, like if live is decent, I reckon we will, for sure, because it'll be insane. You got to remember how many of those vehicles are new player friendly, which is quite a lot of them. And when I say new player friendly, not talking like actually new player friendly. I'm talking like we're below the $200 range. Quite a few of them are, especially the Spirits, which will be I suspect will be a player favorite for a lot of people in the same way that the Cutlass and the Freelancer are. So there's that, and then it's the addition of the CitizenCon sales plus the IAE sales in general are always insane. IAE will have at least 2 or 3 of those vehicles that you just mentioned.
IAE is in November, right?
Yes, correct.
So we got,
and then
we'll have something new probably at CitizenCon, something new
most likely,
at IAE plus all the our limited sales are there.
Plus variants, right? There's been multiple variants that have been worked on this year that have not released, like ones that have finished that have not released, and they're working on 2 more. We found out from this monthly report.
They said vehicles,
so I think there's actually
too.
more. Yeah.
So
it could be ground vehicles. Yeah.
Could be ground vehicles, but I don't know, man. It's a lot of things, but I mean, I posted a video yesterday about. Maybe we don't get into that quite yet and talk a little bit more about the patch because we'll get into that in a minute. But for me, I love to see them put out a lot of patches. They seem to really touch the invisibility bug. Time will tell on that. Are you still seeing it?
There was already a tweet from Detox. People are still invisible.
Fuck. Okay.
Like an hour ago too. It was really recent.
Oh, that's why I missed it. Damn it, that sucks. That's a bummer. And on SEL, they actually mentioned it too, that they thought they nailed down some of the ways that it happens. Yeah. So that was the way he phrased it, and I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But the other stuff, the other fixes, a lot of them have been pretty fantastic for the most part.
Well, I mean, they're trying on the invisible one, so you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they fixed a few of the ways that it happens, that's good. I'm not gonna be like, it's just like, damn, I thought they had it. That's all. But yeah, a lot of quality of life. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks. The known issues list is still massive, and there are game-breaking bugs on that known issues list. And for me, we had a postmortem this week, and that's where I would love to shift it. We had a postmortem. How did you feel about it? I don't really feel anything, and I'll just leave it at that. for now. What did you take away from it?
There was a couple of things that was not necessarily new information, but was confirmations on a couple of things, which were nice. Like, for example, so they obviously did their huge thing about, hey, 318 was a shit show. And we know that it was a shit show, which like they've already been saying, obviously, right? Because everyone knows it was a shit show. It was a terrible, terrible release, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
it was so late. It was the postmortem was so late that didn't really. It didn't hit as hard as it could have, like, oh, we're sorry, guys. Well, when you say sorry 5 months later, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
But okay. Sorry, continue.
But yeah, I did like at the end of that they were mentioning, hey, they have moved on from the bulk of the production of PES and moved into static server meshing. Awesome. Fantastic. Cool.
Awesome.
Good to get a confirmation of that.
Yep.
And then, a lot of the feature, like, hey, this is what we did good, this is what we did bad, was like exactly what I expected. Was like, we did this, like mining changes is probably the best example, where they were like, we did this, they were generally well received. What went bad? There were a lot of issues, and we are fixing them actively right now. It's like, yeah, we know all that, but like, cool, awesome,
yeah,
fantastic. And so I think really PES was the only one where it was like, this is a massive thing. One thing that I think was interesting is they talked about the Scorpius and Terries, and they didn't mention about how it was received.
Of course not.
Because, yeah.
Dude, the thing with me with that was we had all these problems, and then I go, and you sold it anyway.
Yeah.
And you sold it anyway. And then, like, no mention of how the Vulture was, not sold in game for real credits for, however long. Right. So, like, if that's what makes me, like, just cringe about these postmortems is what went wrong. Not that much. Like, yeah, some things went wrong, but not the things that people were actually complaining about. And then what we're going to do better. We're going to do better. And it's just like, I don't care. I don't care if you say you're going to do better, if you don't do better. I went back and tried to look for previous postmortems. Oddly, they were very difficult to find. I only was able to find one. They've done more than one postmortem.
I've never read a postmortem. I didn't even know they existed before this one.
Yeah. They've done more. I can't find them. Almost as if they deleted them or something. I don't want to put my conspiracy hat on, but I wanted to go back in time and go, let's look at all the other postmortems and see what they said. And then, I wasn't able to find any information. And so instead, I made a video that I posted yesterday. I don't know if you caught it. It's short, it's a couple minutes. And I basically just said, your words don't mean anything. Your actions do. And the actions that I see in 320, thumbs up. You're working hard. Good. The things that you say usually are about as heavy as air. They don't hold any weight. So it's just like, if you do what you say, that's great. But you just say a lot, and not a lot of action happens on these things. So you can make as many postmortems as you want, but they don't mean anything. And that's just
I will
how
say
I
this is one to check for over the course of the next couple of months as we start to see server meshing come in, because I think, once again, the bulk of the whole thing was PES. Like,
yes,
if this was 5 pages long, a page and a half was dedicated just to PES. And they did mention in it that, like, and it was one of the only things where I looked at when they said, like, this is what we've learned, where I've actually been like, okay, this is something I'm gonna have to watch for, where they were like, with server meshing, we're going to be integrating it in a better way than we integrated PES. We're going to be doing it in XYZ way so that, it doesn't completely break the game as it comes in. So whether that happens or not over the course of the next 6 months, a year, is going to be really important for that to mean anything, right?
Yeah, and that's what made me make that video, is because that exact statement was made in the letter for the chairman about 318.
Yeah.
Like, a very similar statement was made. We're going to leave it in the PTU. We're going to make sure it's good. We're going to solidify it so it doesn't become disruptive. And listen, unforeseen things happened, and it happened.
Yeah.
It happens. But again, you said you said something, just, it doesn't mean anything. So the thing that I really hyper fixated on was the cloud test launcher, which
which they had talked about a ton, like what, a year and a half ago,
which they talked about before 3.18 that should allow them to put a bunch of players in a server and test how it would cause issues with that many people. And now they have a new cloud test launcher, and it's just like, bro, oh my God, are we doing iCache things again? What is happening here? So that's the one where it's like, man, this is weird. So I don't know. I just look at it and I go, yep, they wrote something, and I will continue to focus on their actions, which I genuinely feel positive about. I think that there's developers at the company that really care and that are doing great work regardless of the other bullshit that's happening all around them, you know? And it just, none of that stuff matters. What matters is the game we're playing. The game we're playing, kind of fun. Not bad.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic time so far. Yeah. And if you want to tell us what you thought about the postmortem, make sure you come and give us a call over at 1-800-ATC. There it is. So, fantastic.
Yeah, the rooms are open, guys. So discord.gg/SaltEMike. You can go into the green room. There's a little green circle there if you want to touch on any of the subjects that we are talking about today. We had a bunch of callers last week, and we'd be happy to hear from a couple of you. But just a programming note, I said it before the podcast. I have a hockey game super early today. I don't know why. We never have them that early, so we had to push the podcast an hour early, and have to end it at a certain time where we normally wouldn't have an end time. It would just go until it felt like it was done. So if you want to get on and talk about any of these subjects around what happened this week, get in the queue now, because we're only going to take a couple callers. Outside of that, I'm trying to think of what else happened this week. I guess, what have you said you've been playing a lot of Arena Commander. What have you been up to?
Tons of gun rush, tons of tank battles, and a lot of racing.
How's the weight?
Those are the three. Yeah.
How's the weightiness of the tanks now? Does it feel good?
Oh, so much better than it was.
Okay, I haven't played it since they fixed it.
Yeah. So there's still some issues, which is more just to do with the way that the tank works when you're solo tanking, because it really is designed to be that the best way to play it is to have two people, even three if you want to have someone in the gun turret. Mm-hmm. So it feels a little bit weird, but it's insanely fun. Some of the maps probably need a bit of a tuning, because you just end up flipping all over the place a lot of the time. There are some instances like the scanning is working pretty decently, but there's still been a lot of times where I've been accidentally shooting teammates in the team version until it hits and it says friendly, and I'm like, well, I just put you 2 shots closer to death. Whoops. change target. That one's been fantastic though. It's been one of my favorite things about the whole patch for sure.
I'm obsessed with Gun Rush. I can't.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Gun Rush is great.
Yeah.
That's one thing we were talking. Like, I'm really happy that it did go to Open PTU this week, because one thing that was kind of concerning when it was still Wave 1 and 2 is the servers went dead really quickly. It was only a few days before you would maybe even at peak times get 3 people in your lobby, but they're all full now. Hopefully that continues into the patch, as long as people still want to do it. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with Gun Rush. All I do is play that game. I haven't done anything else. I don't have my stick set up. I'm not playing any master modes. I haven't done any of it. I'm just obsessed with that. Or I tried mining this week.
Yeah.
I tried mining the entire week.
Okay.
Tried being the keyword. Now, towards the end of the week, try became I actually was able to participate in it. So that we did see some improvements throughout the week, not just in terms of bug fixes, but I guess you can call this a bug. At the beginning of the week, I would turn on my laser power, and it is very difficult to tell now with the new mining changes whether or not you are frozen with a server hitch or your instability is high.
It's just
or weird, right? So because what instability will do is sometimes you'll sit for a moment and then you'll shoot up. but you can't tell if it's because the server was hitching or not. Because I would be halfway to the green zone, not even anywhere near the green zone, and then a split second later, I'm at the top of the red zone. So that was at the beginning of the week, and I was like, I would like to provide feedback on this, but it is impossible. This is not playable. This is an actual unplayable experience. Now, the NPCs are the NPCs. They're doing very similar, like, can't do anything stuff. But with things like mining, you need to have the updates more consistently and smooth. Throughout the week, they gradually got smoother and smoother and smoother. On Friday, I tried it, and it was good. It was good enough. I still had a couple of booms that were surprising, but I was able to experience what the new instability changes meant for me to experience, and it was really nice. So I'm excited for that. I messaged I didn't message them yet. I plan on messaging them today, actually. I've been planning on messaging them of like, we're getting in a mole. We're gonna start trying. It's gonna be time to start trying to figure out how this works now that it can be figured out, and I'm really excited for that. So for me, out of all the things that happened this week, that's my most exciting.
Makes sense. It's the best gameplay in Star Citizen, of course. Like, it's
Don't
something we were very excited for. Oh shit! Did you just lose 5,000 subscribers? But yeah, like it's the most impactful balance change that's happened in recent memory. So, it's good to hear that it's working.
Oh, we have a caller.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so let's bring him on. I'm not sure what he wants to talk about. One of these days, we'll get like proper producers, and they'll tell us they're going to get their name, and they're going to tell us what they're going to talk about, like a real radio show. But that's like 15 years from now. Like and subscribe, guys. All right, Flair Hyranos. Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Mike. How are you? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me properly?
We hear you perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been always lurking around. By the way, like the shows are great. So, like this is the best type of shows, like that anybody can hope for, right? Like you have a integration or like communication with the backers, and then you have a view of everybody. And I think that's really nice, right? To do these kind of things. And thank you for doing.
It's all because of Croncy. He did it all.
I just wanted to start first of all, right? Like with as you guys started with cargo, right? Like the cargo design documentation they showed, because it was really nice to see. By the way, Chad after so long, right? Like he has been not in the spotlight for a long time, and we all know that he's a legendary dev that has been here for a long time. And one thing that surprised me is that they restarted on the design documentation that was supposed to be already happened like long time ago. And I think you guys are right. Maybe team people left, like
it looks like that,
team, right?
It looks that way.
So the one thing that I noticed there is that most of the team people that they showed this time, they're all like senior people. So I think like they have, as far as weight in the company, way higher than juniors and whatnot. So I think they purposely made a team like that so that they could deliver something. Or even if someone leaves, at least they have a solid foundation or documentation in place so that next people or whoever comes in on that team can further continue. Because that's, I think, what felt like to me. Because some of them are like very heavy hitters, like those devs. But one thing I do note, like I should say, I don't think we're gonna see any of that at least in the next 10 or 12 months. Like I feel like as far as CIZ fashion, if he's in the design phase, there is a long time before they actually start working on it. But one thing I do think we'll see soon enough is the best thing I've seen in that video is the cargo snapping, with every single type of assets they have. I think that was one of the best thing I didn't even think we could hope in the game, right? Like having anything, even in salvage, right? Like you gather something, then you put in your ship, and you are not hoping, oh my god, my ship will now blow up if I move, in a weird way or whatever, because now they're snapping into the cargo grids or however they decide to make sure that happens. I think like that's really great.
I think we're going to see it earlier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I really think we're going to see this because we've seen art assets of the freight elevators, so they're already working on the art, and I think they're probably cleaning up their design documents, and you got to remember that they're bringing in. This is a newly created team where Austin people have been working on this or talking about this or making design documents for a really long time, but now there's LA and Montreal. So now it's like everybody has to. This new team has been created. They have to take what they have and they have to make it work with the new people and change things or whatever. And just to sort of change the subject a little bit, but also sort of on topic, that's 3 different studios all working on one thing. Now, I thought it was going to be like, holy shit, this is a big, lots of people. In the ISC, they numbered the number of people that were on it. It's 12.
Yeah.
That seems like an appropriate number. And anybody that I've talked with in that works in software dev, that is an absolutely appropriate size for a single feature. The only takeaway from that in a negative way, which is that's me, I always got to bring it there, is that in order to get all of the features done in Star Citizen, we would need multiple of these heavy-hitting NAPU teams. We need NAPU 1, we would need NAPU 2, we would need NAPU 3, and then the same in the UK, right? Or EU with the UK and Germany in order to get what we would really love done out of Star Citizen. But to make it positive, that was 3 studios all working together on one specific really important thing, and I'm all for it.
I fully expect that the NAPU team is going to be getting some more tasks over the course of the next 6 months, and so it's likely that, like, obviously they're still going to be working on this feature because they seem to want it soon. Like, I feel like there's a very big difference between we're going to do it soon and like we want this in the game.
Yeah.
Like now, and I think this is one of those features. I don't know. It's one of those things of like it's way too early because we've just found out that the NAPU team exists for me to sort of go, yeah, I think that they're gonna crush it out of the park. Done in 6 months. We'll see it at 4.1 or whatever. And I think I would need to find out more information about the actual feature itself. Like the freight elevators themselves, yeah, the art seems to be done, and the very basic here is a thing that spawns cargo doesn't seem like something that's particularly difficult for them to do because they can essentially do that already.
They
just
already
in other
do
ways.
It.
Yeah. So all of these extra things that are being put onto that, how complicated is that going to be?
It's the instance thing, but the instance thing, they already sort of have it too. It's in that 2-year-old video. They explained what they were going to do, and it was as simple as elevator doors or hangar doors open. You go in. When they close, you get teleported somewhere into the planet or whatever. You get teleported way away from everything that's going on there. You do your things in your hangar. When you call ATC, shoot you back, tow your hangar, and then you leave. I don't know, Flair, since you're still on the line.
Yeah. So I think like that's a very good. Yeah, I think like that's a very good point where people are actually, there is a division, I think, right now on Spectrum where some people are like, oh my God, we wanted everything physicalized. And then others are like, oh my God, they're doing the instancing, right? And I do feel like instancing is the way to go, at least for the hangar base, because there is no way they're going to make like 10,000 hangars in a space station, like making them even bigger than before for no absolute reason, than just to accommodate the fact that we have it physicalized. And as you said, I actually didn't remember that they wanted to teleport you farther away, because I thought like they would just create it in real time. You're still there, right? But it just not at the door, somewhere else. But it makes sense if they teleport you somewhere else, so the performance, like drawback is not high enough. And you can take as much time as you want, right, to be on your hangar and do whatever you want. And the bonus thing is that they mentioned that you can even bring people, right? It's not just you. So you can actually bring your friends or crewmates or whatever, and then, plan together. I think that's one of the biggest take there.
Yeah, I got some nerves about that one. Anybody ever jump in your elevator and fly and walk to your hangar before in the PU? Right? So that's one thing that I'm like, ooh, how is that going to work?
Sure.
I think
but there's another problem as well.
I think we get our first quote unquote loading screens in Star Citizen with that. I think
maybe.
I think if Croncy and Flair are not in my party, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna steal this guy's armor in his hangar," and they join me. They join my elevator going to my hangar. I think you're gonna get sent back to like the ATC area or whatever, the ASOP terminals.
For sure, yeah.
So it'll be
and I think
very jarring and very not realistic, but I think it's needed.
Also, I don't know how they will deal with like really, really giant ships, like because they said you can use these hangars to, fill up your cargo hold, right? So let's say anything bigger than a whole sea, right? Like how are they gonna fit it inside the hangar so that you can put the cargo on those, cargo
Flair,
hold or whatever?
It has to be a whole sea they have to address this with, because you can't put cargo on a whole sea while in a hangar. So we know there's docking collars. We know the current system of the whole sea is jank as all can be. And that's why I'm so excited.
As temporary can get.
Exactly. And that's why next week is so exciting for me, because when you hear about the terminals that we'll be interacting with, okay, how is that going to work? Freight elevators don't go outside. So that is a whole nother thing of like, how do we deal with these bigger ships that can't dock? How do we deal with them at on planets? How does all that work? I'm very curious about that. I can't even speculate on how that might work, because with the current art and the way everything looks, there's no cargo hanging out anywhere near a docking collar. So how does it, get connected to your ship? I'm very curious. Yeah. It's going to be a cool couple of years in terms just seeing all the changes that are going to have to be made once we have to actually play the game of how they're going to change things. That's one of the bigger ones for me.
I will say,
especially.
Sorry, Flair, if I interrupt. For a couple of things, just on terms of like the ground cargo, essentially it'll likely be cargo elevators again that we've seen in the new UGFs and whatnot. Like we see that those cargo elevators do actually pretty much go to the outside. Yes, and you could use those.
And they have hangars at those big UGFs.
Yeah,
the current ones.
I don't think you'll be able to work. Well, I don't think you'll be doing cargo at those sort of locations.
I think they're going to replace a lot of them.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And then one other thing, just touching on what you said, Flair, if people are complaining about whether or not this like stuff, which is essentially like homestead stuff, should be instanced or not, if they don't instance it, the game will die. Has anyone played Star Wars Galaxies? It is not a good way to have them all be actually fully physicalized. Hey, we're under Lawville and we have 10,000 hangars. It's just not a thing to even consider. So go ahead.
And I have also another thing that I'm curious about this kind of hangars to be able to load your cargo is that how are they going to deal with people interaction while you're loading? Because I think they should have a way where, like the pirates are not supposed to attack you while you're loading, at least in the space station, right? Like, and then when you're outside, then, it's a free country and everybody can do anything they want, right? Because I have no idea how... I have no idea how they could fix that, right? Like the ability to at least let people load their thing, right? Like, and then deal with the pirates afterwards. Or do you think it should be fine that you are attacked while you're loading as well?
Absolutely not. I think I will always default to Cutlet's feelings on Space Cutlet. If people don't know, streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/Space Cutlet, all one word. I always mix up noodle and cutlet. Moist noodle is moist __ noodle, and space cutlet is space cutlet. He would like it to be like Eve, and I know you have much more experience than this with me, is that when you approach a station, once you've reached a certain distance, there is a shield bubble around your ship, and there's no damage happening to you. So that's how I feel it should be, is we should be protected by the station from everything. And you should just be impenetrable if you're in these locations doing these things. How ridiculous is it if you're loading your ship in a whole sea and we see how big, how long, how ridiculous of a process that would be, that somebody can just come and blow you up? You're locked in a station. You can't even defend yourself. It's just one of the dumbest things right now. They obviously have to do something with it.
Yeah, that's something that I disagreed with for the longest time, but I started to sort of get the idea of like, well, it just becomes bad gameplay and it just
Yeah.
becomes unfun because nothing really changes from the pirates' perspective because they can still just in different ways they can still attack that ship.
Just
They
wait
can
till
still
I'm
get the
done.
cargo and whatnot. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I am still always erring on the side of just put mechanics there that deter that sort of action, but specifically for the Hull C, yeah, that needs to be altered in some way so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah, I
others,
totally agree.
we should have a lot more ships that are, more ships should be using docking colors than currently are as the game continues to grow. But yeah, it's that's just going to be something that they're really going to have to think long and hard on because they've created a lot of things, but sometimes the puzzle pieces aren't fitting together to create enjoyable experiences, right? Sometimes they create really, really fucking bad ones, and that plus the armistice zones situations at outposts create very bad situations for both sides of the coin. It's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for a pirate to sit and watch somebody wait on a pad and then have them just log or whatever. And it's not fun for the player to feel like they had the only thing they can do is wait on a pad, right? So it's there's got to be a middle ground there somewhere that works.
Yeah.
Also, I have another question regarding that. Then, so to look into the other spectrum, do you think every station then should be safe? Like, for example, in Pyro, do you think there, if you want to load your cargo, will be like unsafe? What do you think about that?
Of course not. I think they should utilize hangars as much as possible. I think, obviously it's unavoidable with like a Hull C or something like that. But I don't think stations should be safe. But if a station is operational, I do believe that you should have that like bubble protecting your ship on the outside. The moment I turn, undock from the ship, I should be prepared to fight. Or undocked from the station, I should say.
Undocked from the station. Yeah.
That's a good point.
After that, it's because that gives me the opportunity to say, guys, I just loaded up a bunch of things here at Ruin Station, and there's 5 ships looking at me. Can you guys come to Pyro real quick and help me get out of here? That it gives you the opportunity to do that, and then everybody gets what they want for the most part. They get a fight and action and fun. So I think it's just better.
I think your solution is pretty feasible as well, because I'm thinking on regards of, I have the bubble, right? I'm in the station, but I can see the enemies waiting outside. So I ask for beacons, right? Like I ask for beacons around the areas, like, hey, can somebody come and help me out because there are pirates waiting?
Yeah.
And then you have this emergent gameplay, right, where not only AI but also people are accepting the beacon, and obviously a space station is a reachable place somewhat, right? So you could technically reach and help out, and then make friendship or like enemies for life.
Yeah. I also don't think anybody should be allowed to loiter around a station. It's land or leave.
So essentially, like, do what you're currently doing now with like obstructing landing area. Give it like a 5-minute time, but like a wider area. Is that sort of what you mean?
Yeah, like a bubble around the station. Like I don't think anybody should be able to just hang out at a station or around it. That might be a really bad take. I don't know what people think about that, but it just part of me is like, it will solve the problem for everybody if you're not allowed to loiter around it, but you can jump in and like, okay, let's say for example, I see that there's a Hull C at the docking collar, and you really want to pirate it as a pirate. You'll land one of your guys on the station. They can go near the docking collar and know when things are going to happen. They can scout. You can have your scouts there. But if you want to attack, you got to time things maybe. And because standing around, and I think that time limit can be like 5-10 minutes. It doesn't have to be really short like they do with the landing pads. It does seem a little bit weird to allow a around a space station with tons of defenses, and that is, a very important. It's like an airport. You wouldn't allow a random drone to fly around an airport, or you're not even cars aren't even allowed to just kind of hang out around airports and stuff like that. So that's just like one of those real life things that doesn't quite work for me. Is the standing on the outside. Well, you're either coming in or you're going. So what's the deal?
Yeah.
True. I think like they also should take on the fact that people could exploit this green area as well, right? So to have a timer to get into the safe zone, I think like otherwise you'll see people fighting and then quickly getting in, just to avoid the fight or just to be invulnerable, as you'll say, right? Otherwise, it could create a situation that people are just exploiting these bubbles to be safe, and just to troll right outside of it.
Yeah.
If you make the area large enough, like you can make that mostly irrelevant, though, right? Like people aren't going to want to. People aren't going to stick around for a fight 100 kilometers away from the station. But there's also nothing to do within 100 kilometers of the station, right? So it's for the most part like completely empty space. So I think that'd be actually a pretty decent idea. I don't think it would be. I think the positives certainly outweigh the negatives.
I agree. And
yeah,
regarding
I'm worried
the
it's a
other
bit
things,
of a Care Bear take, but at the same time,
well, I just think pirates shouldn't exist at all. I don't think PvP should be in it.
like I just think utilizing things like your snaring and like mechanics that are there are. It's weird to pirate somebody at the source in a place that should have like massive defenses. And if you have massive defenses, why would you allow anybody to just loiter around? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's not. It would definitely take some testing to see how it works. I'm not just going to go out here and say that this is the solution, but it would be an interesting thing to try. Is basically where I would take it.
Yeah,
I think I agree totally with the wording that Mike used about piracy shouldn't exist at the source, right? Like I think like that's the very good take from here that you shouldn't be able to exploit the hub where you know that people are going to come from. Like if there is piracy, it's middle of the road, right? Like it's in between the roads from where A to B or wherever you're going or whatnot, right? I think like that should be what they should go or try to achieve. So then we don't have people or like the PvE people crying about, oh my god, they just blew up or like they just came to the station and I couldn't even do anything.
We probably
I
don't.
think like that's
We probably don't even need the system in the first place. With the idea of long-term reputation, you wouldn't be allowed to loiter around that station anyway because your reputation would precede you, and they wouldn't want you in that area. So like piracy wouldn't happen at the source if the game actually treated unlawful players the way they intend to in the future and the way they should, right? So it essentially achieves the goal that I'm looking to and saying no loitering, because the game wouldn't allow them to be in the area in the first place, right? And you would have to get them out in the middle of nowhere, like piracy happens in real life with cargo ships and so on, right? So
yeah, which is ultimately the better solution because you then still have the ability to create more gameplay, but less ability for people to abuse things.
Yeah,
which should always be the goal.
I am always of the feeling, and I don't care what anybody thinks about this, I will die on this hill, is that when you make it to the safe zone with quotes, it's over. The pirate, the PvP or the PK lost. You lost. You didn't get there in time. And that there is a problem because it can be abused. So it's about figuring out how to deal with that, but you lost. In a lot of ways, you had time to kill that player, and if you didn't get them in that time or didn't use the mechanics to your advantage to get them in that time, then you lost. But we also see the current way Armistice works now, and it's shit. So it's there. Something's got to give, and I don't know exactly what it will be yet, but I think long-term reputation is probably the solution. So, yeah. Well, I don't know if you have anything else, Flair, but I think
Sure, like if you have some other people go on. Otherwise, I could also talk about like the arena commander. For example, in 320, I've been trying in P2 way more arena commander than even the patch itself for PU. I think Gun Rush is the one of the best mode I've ever played in this game, at least, right? Like that was extremely fun. And as far as performance go, I think like they did mention on that Arena Commander Part 3 video that they are using new VMs or something which performs better, so that they are able to give you better frames in that place or scenario. And I think like as far as them planning out 1v4 or 1v8 modes that they were talking about, like let alone Tears of Wars, I don't know what is going to be at this point, right? But I think Sint Tracy, since he gets a lot of flack, he's actually trying this time actively to push whether the limitation instead of 50 people is 20. He's accepting that, right? Like he just wants it to be out in our hands and try it as it is. And I think that's like a really, really big take, in my opinion, from the video, is that they are now able to convince the higher ups to mitigate the problem. And if there is a feature that is half broken but half playable, to just release it so we can test it out as well and we can see their progress too. And plus it helps them to fix out the bugs even more, right? Because then they need to have a team that actually constantly checks out whatever is in the game, and then they get bashed on like, hey, why is this not working, or why is it working as it as it should be or should not be. I think like that's like the very good, in my opinion, take that we're seeing right now, that they're getting pressured, whether it's money or whether it's the time, whether it's delays, but they're definitely getting pressured to release stuff so that people are able to play and then give you feedback and whatnot.
They mentioned Theaters of War twice in the monthly report.
Yeah.
You think this time it's real?
We just kind of let it go there. I think it's real because they've been talking about it a bit the last 6 months. Is that like these arena commander changes are also like we're looking at TOW. We are looking at it. I don't think it's going to be the scope that it used to be, but I don't need it to be. I just need it to be Gun Rush with more people. That's I'll be super happy with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I tried to put Copium Planet in Twitch chat, but I don't know the emo code exactly. So we'll see. That's another one of those. I read it and I went, okay, we'll see.
And I have a feeling, right? Like changing also subject. That's as you guys mentioned before about server meshing. I don't think we are even remotely going to see it at the end of the year, the test as well. Because if I remember correctly, after persistent database, right, like the PS, they're supposed to work on replication layer as well by dividing every single game feature into microservices and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure like that's gonna take a long time before it's fully realized, especially on the fact that I don't know if we are supposed to believe in the rumors or not. They are working heavily on Squadron 42 to be released, whether it's 1 year further down the line or whatnot, right? So I don't think they have the manpower to make sure every single game feature, are transitioning to, replication layer architecture and then, to release it. So that's why probably they're saying in the postmortem or in the monthly report that they're gonna phase out a bit by bit, right? Like they're gonna do maybe one system, maybe salvage with the replication layer testing, and to keep on the same time 321 that is not agnostic to the new system, to be able to have us playing that system in the meantime. I think that's what they're going for now.
We'll see. I mean, we talked about this last week. Anybody who was thinking about 4.0 being a thing, if you don't see the replication layer change, or if you're not able to choose your own server, don't have 4.0 on your mind yet, because they told us what the steps were. If the steps have changed, they haven't told us that the steps have changed, and which is frustrating. But assuming that's a CitizenCon thing that they'll talk about, and that's that. But Flair, I'm gonna let you go because it's been quite a long call, and we don't have anybody else on the line, but we do want to give opportunities to talk about other subjects. And yeah, this one's more drama, so we're gonna leave it to me and Croncy there, and I don't want to get you caught in the crossfire. All right.
No worries.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for your call. So drama. There's some drama. The drama is Morphologist, friend of the show, Great guy. Jump ship. Literally.
They didn't nerf the A2. It was his only choice.
Exactly. So this was crazy. He posted a tweet yesterday that caught me off guard completely.
Yeah.
And very briefly mentioned it in his video from yesterday, which was a whole architect reviews, a typical Morphologist video, great video, the normal quality classic Morphologist. But he was hired on as an architect consultant at Star Atlas, the cryptocurrency Star Citizen. I don't know how to react to any of it. He has been adamantly against cryptocurrency for a long time, and then this and says by no way him working there was an endorsement for any of it. And it's like, but you work there, so it's kind of an endorsement. It's like I don't know how to feel.
Yeah. And it's not just that, but like Star Atlas, like we love Star Citizen. It's a great game. A lot of us play Star Citizen. We want it to succeed. Star Atlas is one of those things where it's like the publicity of that game just fully negatively affects Star Citizen all the time. Every time I see about it. 100%. The amount of times I've seen people say like, either they've confused the two games, which is really bad. You do not want that to happen. Or they've seen Star Atlas and it sort of just perpetuates the Star Citizen scam like narrative, which I think is just always bad.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just on that topic real quick, I think Star Citizen does a good enough job of them making themselves look bad that it doesn't it doesn't matter, and they've still remained to have the level of success that they've had up to this time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it matters as much as maybe as maybe you feel there from my perspective. But yeah, continue. I'm sorry I jumped in on that point just there because I wanted to make that joke.
Itching for it.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite thing.
But yeah, I've been very against cryptocurrency for the last like probably year and a half. I've had like lots of personal vendettas with it because it's essentially gambling where the odds are significantly worse for you than any gambling game that exists, right? At least that's what it's become, right? Yeah. People talk about the architecture and stuff like that, but in general, the vast majority of ways that cryptocurrency has been used and why it now has just a terrible reputation in 2023 is because of how much it's been used for scams. So Star Atlas is just one of those things where I'm just like, try to keep it out of my mind. Don't just ignore it as much as I can. And then, Morphologist posted this thing. And it's really weird because, like, love Morph, great guy. I reckon he can bring a lot into these, like, design documents for really any, not even sci-fi, but really any type of property that's out there, right? And so in one respect, I was like, hell yeah, Morph, get that bag. Help make some cool artworks and whatnot. But like at the same time, really?
Yeah. It's weird thing is to get the bag comments I find slightly weird because you don't know how much he's getting paid or whatever. It's more of for me, it's like he had the opportunity to essentially do the Star Citizen dream of like making your own spaceship. With similar assets and actually people who worked on Star Citizen. So like an opportunity all of us would love is to be a fly on the wall at the minimum or actually impacting from a development standpoint, because this is sort of what Star Citizen has become, right? They make you feel a part of the project so much that you actually want to be a part of the project. So like my thing with him is like, dude, that must be so awesome. I'm really happy for you. That was probably so fun. I mean, the money stuff, who knows? Because, it's crypto, so you assume they're just, like, paying them in Bitcoin or some, like, crazy shit like that. But we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
even know if we know he got paid at all. Like, it's not...
Exactly.
Well, the information I've received, I have no idea.
Just to, I guess, cross-promote a little bit, Morph's going to be our guest on Desync this week. So, Saturday morning next week... for you guys listening. I'll ask him as much as I can, and we'll try to get down to it. Right now, it's still just kind of speculating quite a bit, but it's a weird one. It's just competing product, and in not in a good way. And it kind of goes a little bit with the Montoya thing with his coin and stuff. I just look at both of those people as like pretty genuinely good people with not bad intentions. And then you look at people like Logan Paul, who's done so many bad things in his life that that's different things. So yes, it does sound like, cryptocurrency, the architecture can do cool things. What people do with those cool things has typically been really bad. It doesn't look like Star Atlas is doing too many good things with their, people bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of ships, and those ships aren't worth anywhere near that number anymore. There's countless videos out there. People have lost tons of money on this project, and that sucks. The thing that I found most interesting out of this has nothing to do with Morph at all, though. Did you see that Morph got to work with the people who worked on the Banu Merchantman?
I didn't know he was working with people that did the BMM, but I knew he was working with ex-CIG.
No. It was the people who were doing the BMM. The reason the Banu Merchantman didn't come out is because those people went to fucking Star Atlas.
Which means it's Morph's fault that the BMM doesn't exist, guys.
Yes.
Sorry.
So he not only did he kill the A2, but he killed the BMM. So that's one of the ones that I was like, God damn, dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, because I knew that they left. Because they made it very clear. And it's like, what can you do? The Banu Merchantman thing, dude, it sucks. I thought they left with the director who went to Ubisoft. I thought they all went to Ubisoft. No, man, these fucking guys went to Star Atlas. And that was just like, ooh, and like I know, like get the bag and everything, like we said about Morph, but that's like, it just kind of sucked. It was like, damn, couldn't you have finished this ship that the community like really, really cared about? But hey, people got their lives and they make their decisions to better their lives, and that's fine. It's not against them. My feelings aren't against them personally. It's just the situation at like how it played out was like, you can't write this shit, like holy fuck. The one ship everybody wanted, the guys leave and go to Star Atlas and make it over there. Probably they made the Banu Merchantman over there. Just $30K to buy it, guys. No big deal.
The Anub Urchantman. I do think though the devs that he would have worked with and the stuff that he did, it's all like art and stuff like that. And commissioning art and artists moving around between tons of projects is extremely common.
Yeah.
And so I like my sort of ending thing with this whole saga of two tweets essentially was like, it doesn't really matter too much to me in the end. It's like if Morph went over there to like essentially actually design NFTs, then I'd be a bit mad.
I mean, is that not what he's doing? I'm confused. The ships are the NFTs.
Not really.
Now?
He was consulting them about art. Really, in essence, he
about
wasn't going there
design.
to
Yeah.
He didn't actually like contribute to like the actual development of the game, other than just I am a consultant for art, and I think that is completely fine. Yeah. The ships, yes, they are the ships are the NFTs, but Morph didn't design any NFTs. He was there to just help them. Hey, this is how architecture works.
I can't say shit. I fucking did a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. I have
same
right. Like I have no fucking shame. So I'm not gonna sit here and make any sort of accusations or anything around Morph, because I'll pick up money when it's lying on the ground anytime. Yesterday, I watched my view count go above what I needed to do a bounty, and I was like, well, time to change subjects, guys. We're watching a ad from Twitch, right? Like, yeah. Oh, okay, I will. I looked at Twitch chat. Somebody said steak sponsorship when. I do have some morals, and that is where my morals lie. Just coming from a casino industry, I would never do anything like that, because I see I see how it affects people, so that's a little bit more different for me. But I tell you what, yesterday do you use Stream Elements, Croncy?
Yeah.
Yesterday, in your activity feed, if you've ever done a sponsorship with them, you can still see if people are engaging with that sponsorship even years later. I watched one of my viewers make 2 deposits in Raid Shadow Legends yesterday, and it told me that it happened, which is really weird. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I think it was you, Moss. I can't remember. I'm going to scroll.
Person in chat that's now homeless because they've been spending all their money on Clash of Clans. Right?
Yeah. So it was just ooh, damn.
But yeah, I think
it wasn't Moss.
The situation with Moth, I think, is blown a bit out of proportion. It is just a very weird thing to happen. I'm really curious to watch that Desync podcast episode that you guys can watch by going to YouTube and going to Desync podcast.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask everything. I'm gonna let him know we're gonna ask him the questions and he can just answer them, I guess. But he seems very open to discussing it, and I think he's made some clarifications on Twitter and stuff. He doesn't support certain things, and so we'll have to see.
He said he doesn't have any NFTs, crypto, anything like that. Obviously,
so they're not paying him in crypto then, if he doesn't have
presumably,
any.
Yeah. And in general, he liked the experience. Is sort of the idea that I get from it. But yeah.
Star citizenships are NFTs. That's what I'll say. They're NFTs without the Web3 architecture. So there you go.
I will say I do have one sort of thing, which is like, because that comparison does happen, and then people say, well, at least I can resell the Star Atlas stuff. You don't buy Star citizenships with the expectation that you can sell them. And that is a big difference.
Yeah.
That's true. But that's all, gray area weird stuff. It's
Anybody
not the main way to do it.
The only thing that I'm considering selling is I have a bunch of Mustang Omegas that I bought for like $12. And I heard that they go on, like, I have a bunch of them. And I heard that
giveaways. Giveaways, come on.
Bro, they sell for like $300 on eBay. Giveaways?
Mike hates you guys. Mike hates you all. Yeah, giveaways. I gave away an entrepreneur pack last year, Mike. Come on, up your game.
That's because your community actually likes you. Have you seen my Twitch chat? I'm not giving them shit.
Yeah, why do you think they don't like you? You've got all these Mustangs. You've got the entire supply.
Those are the only things that I would consider selling.
Yeah.
Outside of like getting some inside info that the whole thing's gonna crumble, and then sell like a U.S. government employee. Like
information.
I'm gonna buy Nvidia like Congress people, but besides, we've gone like so far off the rails, so I'll try to bring it back. It's weird. I'm looking forward to hearing more. It just gives me the weird feeling. I don't know how to think about it because I love Morph. He's one of my closest friends out of the streaming space, and I know. I know him more personally than anybody, that's watching, most likely, and it just doesn't seem like, there's any ill intentions there. Same thing with Montoya and his thing. It doesn't seem like there's any ill intentions there, but that doesn't mean bad things can't happen to people because of choices that you make. Like, I don't turn on my stream, like, how am I going to call somebody a dickhead today? But it happens.
Because it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, well, I guess in that case that's a bad example. But I don't intend to go out there and like be nasty or do bad things or steal money from people or do bad things. But sometimes the results of your decisions do cause bad things, right? Even though your intention wasn't bad. So, it kind of ties it all the way back to the postmortem, everything and everything that we talked about today. CIG's intentions, I think, typically have been good. The results of their actions, not as much over the years, but it seems like their actions and the results of their actions in recent times it's kind of flip-flopping. Their intentions are looking worse and worse and worse, but their actions of their actual developers still seem very honorable and are doing good. But I don't know. I'm kind of coming up to the end of for me on to be able to make it to this game today.
Yeah, I got one more question for you, Mike.
Please.
Which I was thinking about while we were talking to our caller, which is so like it's seeming more and more like, obviously it may not be the case, but seeming more and more like Squadron will be announced at CitizenCon.
Yes,
and we will get some information, which means the devs, like, well, presumably as long as this all happens, the devs will be moving towards the PU. Now, I think a large portion of those will likely be the ship design, feature design, mission design devs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
Animation.
there's much animation? Yeah,
that's a big
Do
one.
you think there's much crossover for engine team stuff? Should we expect to see way more people working on the server meshing stuff, that sort of stuff?
No. Well, because I don't even think the engine stuff is server meshing. I think the engine stuff, because they work in the game dev branch, which is both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen together, they are all in one big Star Citizen thing in one place. That's where those guys do their work, and I don't really see that stuff changing very much. There was a sneaky mention of... I don't know if you caught it because it was not only a few hours ago, I think. Sneaky mention of, it's killing me, Vulcan, like kind of nearing completion and being in our hands. Just written by one of the devs that show up on the ISCs and SEL sometimes. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name at the moment. I can see his face. He's very quiet spoken and just like a nice guy. But the Ali Brown, thank you. Yeah, he made a bunch of posts on Spectrum, so go check the dev tracker for that. But yeah, it's one of those things that can't be shown, but we could feel that we might see some performance improvements. Global illumination was mentioned on the monthly report, right? So it does seem like all that stuff is happening, but it will be happening in both games. So from that perspective, the way you asked the question, no. But I definitely think we'll see improvements to what we do every day in the game. I really hope so. So yeah,
actual gameplay stuff, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. The feeling that I have in Starfield, I hope, is look at all these things I want to do, and I don't have enough time to do them. Right. Yeah. And that's my dream for the game. And I don't think that is an unrealistic expectation. All those things might not be incredibly detailed and super, super fun. So yeah.
One thing's for certain though. There'll be more concepts.
Oh yeah. Buy those spaceships, guys. Buy those spaceships. But yeah, I guess this is where we'll leave it for today. Croncy, as always, thank you very much. If you guys are new here, check out Croncy. I will throw a shout out in Twitch chat. And that worked. Okay. For a second, I thought it wasn't working. And links will be below in the description for Croncy on the YouTube channel. I have to get better with that. I'm just going to put that in my default uploads and then remove them instead on of just generally my videos. So it's always there and I don't forget to put them in. But yeah, check out Croncy if you guys haven't yet. And do you have anything going on this week before we head out? 320, I think, is going live.
Yeah, we're probably going to be talking about that next week.
Yeah.
And then we'll know if they did in fact rush 320 or not. We'll get proper confirmation.
Yes. So next week, 320 was rushed. That's the title. We'll just change it. I'll change it right now. But
we'll record it. We'll just record it right now. We'll just do that whole ATC.
Yep. Dude, I left Flair as on the line the whole show. My bad, guys. But yeah. So that's it. The general outro stuff, like, subscribe, comment for YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, it'll be up on YouTube in a little while. If you're watching on YouTube and ever want to participate in the show live, it is 99% of the time we'll be live Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is 3 p.m. UTC, and discord.gg/SaltEMike to join the call like Flair did for a while there. And yeah, that's all I got. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching, as always. And enjoy
the rest of the call.
Yeah, remember to answer the call. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Bye-bye.